updates at On Spot after Easter holiday. We wish you that all of you enjoyed it. Here are the headlines for today. A historical visit for His Holiness Pope Tawadros to Rome. Texas man held on pipe bomb charge denies role in fertilizer blast. Armed man with hostages barricaded inside New Jersey house. Woman dead and dozens injured in Catholic church bombing in Tanzania. Starting from Rome, the visit of His Holiness Pope Tawadros II, the Patriarch of the Coptic Orthodox Church, to His Holiness Pope Francis I, the Patriarch of the Roman Catholic Church in Vatican City, has received a large coverage from media all over the world, as it's the first meeting for both the church's leaders since 40 years. The following report shows more details about this historical meeting.
His Holiness Pope Tawadros II, concluding a historic meeting with His Holiness Pope Francis I on Friday, the 10th of May. The Pope was received at the airport by Secretary General of the Unity of the Churches, Cardinal Ryan Vero, Egyptian Ambassador Amr Hilmi, Bishop Kyrillos of Milan, the Deputy Patriarch of Europe, Bishop Barnaba of Turin, and a large crowd of Copts. The two popes discussed the ongoing ecumenical dialogue between the Coptic Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches, on the 40th anniversary of a similarly historic visit to Pope Paul VI by Pope Shenouda III of thrice blessed memory. A dialogue that strengthened the bonds of friendship and brotherhood that already exist between the See of Peter and the See of Mark, as Pope Francis said. The Pontiff also said he was convinced that, under the guidance of the Holy Spirit, their persevering prayer, their dialogue, and the will to build communion day by day in mutual love will allow to take important further steps towards full unity. In addition to that, Pope Tawadros proposed the 10th of May to be dedicated every year for a celebration of love between the Coptic Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches. The popes also discussed the growing violence against Christians in Egypt at the hands of the Muslim majority, along with the Coptic Orthodox delegation of metropolitans, bishops, and priests. Their Holiness shared in a common prayer for persecuted Egyptian Christians. They also exchanged elaborate gifts in a token of fraternal love and understanding. Pope Tawadros II also said, after his meeting with Pope Francis I, that he would discuss the issue of baptism between the two churches with the Holy Synod of the Coptic Church, and said that it is necessary for the two churches to recognize each other's baptism. In an unprecedented step, Pope Francis I received Pope Tawadros II and his entourage during their visit to St. Peter's Basilica, which was not included on the schedule of the visit. His Holiness Pope Tawadros also visited the Colosseum, the largest amphitheater in the world, where the Roman emperors left lines over the early Christians. Tamer Abid, On Spot.
A paramedic accused of possessing pipe bomb components will plead not guilty to that charge and denies an involvement in causing the deadly explosion at the Texas fertilizers plant that he was among the first to respond to, as his lawyer said on Saturday. Bryce Reed, 31, appeared in federal court in Waco, Texas, on Friday to face one count of unlawfully possessing an unregistered destructive device. Authorities said no evidence linked his arrest to the April 17 fertilizers plant disaster that killed 14 people and injured about 200 in the town of West, a point Reed's attorney echoed in his first comments about the charge. Reed was a volunteer emergency medical technician who became one of the better-known faces of the tiny Texas town in the aftermath of the blast. He had told Reuters that he helped people evacuate the area when a fire broke out at the plant and went to assess of the disaster scene after the explosion until he learned a close friend was among the dead. Police said that an unarmed man with multiple hostages remained barricaded inside a Trenton, New Jersey house on Saturday, after a standoff with law enforcement negotiators overnight. Trenton police declined to say how many hostages were inside the home with the man who has been barricaded there since Friday afternoon, or explain the relationship to him. The Times of Trenton cited two unidentified law enforcement sources as saying police officers checking on the house had discovered the partially decomposed man's girlfriend, but pulled back when they saw he had a gun. The newspaper also reported that one of the woman's children was killed and that the man was holding there more of the children inside the house. A fifth child, aged 19, was reportedly safe at another location with the relatives. Trenton Police Eldrimero Gonzalez told Reuters late on Friday that officers responding for a wellness check on someone at the house on Friday afternoon had encountered a man who barricaded himself inside. He declined to confirm the girl's friend's death or whether anyone else in the house had been killed. The identity of the suspect has not been released. Former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak was back in court on Saturday for a retrial on charges of complicity in the murder of protesters, reopening a case that has shown the difficulty of transitional justice in post-revolutionary Egypt. Mubarak and his former Interior Minister Habib al-Adli were convicted and sentenced to life in prison last June for failing to stop the killing during the 2011 uprising that swept him from power. But a court ordered a retrial in January after accepting appeals from both the prosecution and the defense. Each cited different shortcomings with the trial that was criticized for the weak evidence offered by the prosecution. After a 3-hour session broadcast live on state television during which the charges were read and the prosecution made a statement, the proceedings were adjourned. The next hearing was set for June 8. The prosecution promised to offer new evidence, including some taken from the report of a fact-finding committee set up by President Mohamed Morsi in 2012. A bomb blast went off at a new Catholic church in North Tanzania, killing a woman and injuring at least 57 others, according to a preliminary report. The Vatican's ambassador to Tanzania, Archbishop Francesco Montecarlo Padella, was attending the official opening of the church when the explosion occurred, but escaped unharmed. Witnesses confirmed that the bomb was thrown at the church from a motorcycle. This is the first incident of its kind in the African country, and if a bomb blast is proven, it will mark an escalation in sectarian tensions in East Africa's second biggest economy. A speeding tanker truck carrying gas crashed and exploded in a huge firebolt along highway near Mexico City Tuesday, killing at least 23 people and injuring dozens more. There was a flash, then a noise, and the ground began to shake, said Dulce Gonzalez, who lives in the neighborhood where the tanker plowed into homes early Tuesday morning. Flames engulfed cars and houses near the explosion. As crews searched for survivors, residents combed through the burned-out shells that remained where their homes once stood. Some rescuers removed livestock and pets from the church ruins. Turning to Turkey, twin car bombs killed around 40 people and wounded many more in a Turkish town near the Syrian border on Saturday, and Turkey said it suspected Syrian involvement. The bombing increased fears that Syria's civil war was dragging in neighboring states despite renewed diplomatic moves towards ending fighting, in which more than 70,000 people have been killed. The bombs ripped into crowded streets in the early afternoon in Rihanali, scattering cars and concrete blocks in the town in Turkey's southern Hatay province, home to thousands of Syrian refugees. Turkish Deputy Prime Minister Bülent Arın said that the President Bashar al-Assad's administration was the usual suspect in the attacks. There was no immediate claim of responsibility, nor was there any comment from the mosques. Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius is asking companies for financial donations to help implement President Barack Obama's healthcare overhaul, months before it is due to take effect. In telephone calls that began around March 23, officials say Obama's top healthcare advisor has been seeking assistance from companies in the healthcare field and other industries, as well as from healthcare providers, patient and advocacy groups, churches, and other charitable organizations. Health and Human Services declined to identify the targeted donors, but said none of the companies are regulated by the department agencies. The administration's aim is to win financial help for non-profit groups, including Washington-based Enroll America, which are mounting a private sector effort to persuade millions of uninsured Americans to obtain health coverage in 2014 through new online marketplaces known as exchanges, slated to begin enrollment for federally subsidized private insurance on October the 1st. Researchers have found a strain of bacteria that can infect mosquitoes and make them resistant to the malaria parasite. The study in the journal Science showed the parasite struggled to survive in infected mosquitoes. Malaria is spread between people by the insects, so it is hoped that giving mosquitoes malaria immunity could reduce human cases. Experts said that this was the first distance prospect for malaria control. Malaria is a major global disease. The World Health Organization estimates that 220 million people are infected annually and 660,000 die. Finally, with a lifetime offer being given to the 18-year-old Andrew Bracken, he has been handed $100,000 to go and live in San Francisco and work on his own tech idea. The teenager from London is one of 20 young business people now being sponsored by Peter Thiel, the co-creator of PayPal and one of the first people to put money into Facebook. But the offer comes with a catch. Andrew must agree to skip university and avoid any formal studying for at least 2 years. That's all for today. Wish the best for all of you. Stay tuned and see you next week.